Hello and welcome to our Hyundai Blue Link Tech Help video. In this video, we hope to give you a better understanding of the system by taking a very detailed look at the newest version of Blue Link, found in nearly all new Hyundai products. We will be covering all the features, but feel free to skip around to the parts that are of particular interest to you. Let's get started. So here on your Hyundai Blue Link system, the first thing you're greeted with is the home screen. This screen is basically broke up into a couple sections for your most used applications, and you can click on these things to expand them. Now on most of the models you will also find the shortcut buttons along the side of the screen, but that does vary from model to model. Now the first thing we'll do is click into the navigation. This is usually reserved for your upper trims of the Hyundai, whatever vehicle that you're looking at. But if you do have it, as you can see, it does have very nice graphics, and it's extremely responsive to pinch to zoom as well. Now to access your menu, you just press the menu button. And this is where you can change different settings, like turning on your 3D mode, 3D buildings, and then you can also come up here and change your route settings, turn on and off traffic, various things like that. Now coming over here, you can press the navigation button. This is where you actually get into the part where you actually set your destination. So you have an address book, you have a log of your previous destinations right there. You can also search online or via POI categories. So you can say Automotive, Hyundai dealerships, and then you'll find your nearest Hyundai dealership. Additionally, you can do the same thing for gas stations and restaurants. And coming back to your home screen, you can press this button called All Menus, and this is where all of your applications will now be populated. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one here, which is going to be your phone. Of course, all models do have your standard Bluetooth audio, and additionally you will find that your contacts are automatically synced over from your smartphone. You can just click into these contacts and it will start calling. Additionally, some phones do support text message support, however mine does not. Now as far as other settings to go along with your phone, you've got this button called Message Settings. And what this does is you can turn on and off your message notification, which is basically the pop-up that will show your text message. If you don't want, you have something private, you don't want other people in the car reading, you can turn that off. You can also choose from a few text replies that would just tell people that you're on your way or whatnot. Now the next thing down your list is your Blue Link setup. Now you control most of those things via an application on your phone, and we'll go ahead and talk about what exactly is included within that. So the Blue Link system has one major subscription which everything is covered under. Not every model with the Blue Link system automatically has Blue Link services, since oftentimes it's only included on certain trims. But anyways, most of the Blue Link services are controlled via an app called My Hyundai. Inside of this app, you can check your vehicle's status, remote start it, and set the climate control temperature, lock, unlock, flash the lights, honk the horn, and remotely find your vehicle. You can do these things from anywhere since they are powered by a 4G connection. Another benefit is your on-demand diagnostics, which can tell you if there's something wrong with your vehicle, and then you can schedule service straight from there. Moving beyond the application, there are several other benefits. If your vehicle is ever stolen, the engine can be remotely immobilized, and the exact location can be transmitted to the police. In a similar way, if your vehicle is in need of roadside assistance or you're having a medical emergency, your exact location would be provided as well. Now the nicest thing about these features is that they're included free for 3 years, whereas most of the rivals make them free for only 6 to 12 months. After that period, the subscription will cost $9.90 a month for each of the 3 sections of features. So if you want them all, that's going to be approximately $30 per month. Going on down the list, you've got a little application that gives you some driving information. However, the next 2 things are what you're probably most concerned about, which is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So I'll go ahead and plug in here so we can check that out. I have an Android, so we'll check out the Android Auto. And the first time you plug it in, you'll get this little message. You have to agree to it. Now once inside the Android Auto system, it does look exactly the same as in all other vehicles. So of course, since it's a touchscreen, you can just scroll up and down. You've got your phone settings. You can access your contacts as well. And most importantly, you do have access to Google Maps. So we can see, and specifically we do have pinch to zoom as well as the satellite view. So it's really a neat setup to have. Like I said, even if you don't pay for the integrated navigation. And then when you want to get back into the Hyundai Blue Link system, you just click the Return to Hyundai. As far as what is in the data services, these are the applications that are powered by XM satellite radio. So you do have a few applications here. You've got weather, radar, you've got stocks, fuel prices, a couple of little things that might be helpful just to, if you want to real quick check what the gas stations nearby are costing or something like that. Now Quick Guide's another nice thing that Hyundai's programmed straight into the system here. So instead of having to get out your manual or whatnot, you can go right in here to figure out how to use various features of the system. So you can check out using the touchscreen if that's something you're having trouble with. Just how to set your home screen, navigation, Bluetooth, as well as the phone projection. You can also click over here to our voice command list, and this will teach you how to say various voice commands that you can of course activate with the steering wheel mounted button. So since we're on that topic, we'll go ahead and do a couple of them to demonstrate.
Please say a command.
Navigate to 3100 Hemingway Lane, Lexington, Kentucky.
Would you like to set this as the destination?
Yes.
The guidance will start now.
So as you can see, that works very well. You can say the entire string all together, and it happens really fast. It doesn't ask you to keep confirming a whole bunch of, going through a bunch of menus and whatnot. You can, of course, do all of the same things for various other features, like phone might be a common one. So you could just say, call Mason.
Calling Mason.
And it happens just like that, very fast and very simple. Now scrolling over to our second page, you do have the radio section. So in the radio section, this is very familiar to, as with most vehicles. So you can just scroll through various shortcut buttons that you set over here on the side. And then on the XM satellite radio, you can actually play and pause it as well. Once inside the XM radio menu, you can come in and actually search for your different channels that you want to look at. And then in the menu, this is where you can change various things like your sound settings. So right here in our sound settings, we can change the distribution of the speakers to exclusively up in the front or in the middle. We can also change the volume of different things like our ringtone, our voice.
Guidance will be at this volume. Guidance will be at this volume.
I know a lot of you complain about the beeping, so you can actually turn that off right there. So you don't have to listen to it beep every time you click anything. Another sound setting is just changing the distribution for your bass, mid-range, and treble for the Infinity audio system on this specific model. And then you got a few other things, like your speed-dependent volume, where it will adjust upwards as you speed down the highway. Now your next couple buttons are just simple shortcut buttons. So you've got your music, just takes you straight to your whatever's playing currently. You also have your current location, which will just highlight on the map where you currently are. And then our last app here is called Voice Memo. So you can just click on it and save yourself a little message to look at later on. So, remind me to go to the grocery store after work. You can click that, saves it into the system. Then later on, after work, what I need to remember to do
to go to the grocery store
well,
after work.
now you have that as a little reminder. Now, one of the newest features that's been added to the Blue Link system, I believe starting with the Santa Fe, was this little star here. And this allows you just to program this button to sub in for anything that you want it to. So, you know, right now you've got radio, media, and a few other controls for your navigation. But say you want that to quickly jump straight into Android Auto each time. So I can click phone projection. So now every time I press that, it's going to take me into Android Auto. And this is a really nice feature so that you don't have to dig around through the menus or whatever. You can program this to be whatever custom shortcut that you want it to be. You can also do a similar thing with our steering wheel mode button. So say you never use some of these features, you can actually turn them off so that it will say never go to AM radio because you never listen to AM radio. So when you cycle through, like if you just want to cycle through the modes, it will just skip over AM radio and USB radio, for instance. Now, since daylight savings time just started a couple days ago, I'll go ahead and show you guys how to update your clocks. It's very simple. All you have to do is just press the actual clock right there. And then there's a little check called daylight savings time, and you just kick that on, and you can turn that right back off again. And as far as the actual day and stuff, that's synced with the GPS. And we'll go ahead and head into the settings so we can talk about a few of those. Now you notice across the top, you do have the ability to actually turn the display off. And you can also set a custom screensaver. So right now we actually have an analog clock as well as our date. And then you get it back on, you can just press anywhere and it'll turn back on. Now the first thing we'll do is check out some of the navigation settings. So you can turn on and off all of these things, including your speed limit. We can also have some traffic from HD radio or XM radio if we subscribe to that. And you can have automatic rerouting or only reroute when you approve of it. These are sound settings that we already looked at a little bit ago. Then we also have display settings. Now Hyundai, the default here is automatic, so it adjusts automatically. However, you can uncheck this and you can go into day and night modes manually. Next up, we have some of our Bluetooth settings. So you can see your current devices that are paired. You can disconnect, delete them, or add new ones from here. Also got some message support. So like I said, you can turn on and off that as well as your predefined messages. And then that's your privacy mode, which I already talked about. And if for some reason you'll find that Android Auto or Apple CarPlay aren't working quite the way that you want them to, you may find that this could be unchecked. This just allows the system to be able to connect to the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay when you plug your phone in. So if this were unchecked, then they would still not pull up. You'll just need to come into the phone projection settings and check these two things off. We also have our Blue Link voice recognition settings, and this allows it just to connect to the network and figure out what you're saying a little bit better. And then you can also set how much talking basically you want the system to do. So once you get used to the car and you don't need it to give you instructions continuously about what voice commands to do, then you can come down here and set it to expert, where it won't actually talk to you. Here's the button where you can set your screensaver when the display is off, so you can have it blank, analog clock, or digital clock. We also have some advanced settings here. This is where the screen turns to the map automatically. So if you wanted to keep defaulting to the map, you can set it to one of these and it will go back to the map. Here's your custom button, which I already explained, steering wheel modes, as well as media notifications. Then our last stop here is our system information. This is where you can find what software version you have, You can also see how much storage you have. The system has 128 megabytes installed for the voice memos. But that pretty much sums up the Hyundai Blue Link system. This is a very simple system to use. It's one of the most user-friendly and easy to get used to. They don't put a bunch of features in here that you won't use just to confuse you. It sticks to the basics, and it does that well. Thank you for joining us on this Tech Help video, and be sure to watch more of them.
Mm-hmm.